bodybuilding magazines. Always a great source of misinformation, propaganda, and marketing. Constantly telling us what we wanted to hear instead of what we needed to know. 9 solutions for puny pecs, guaranteed. Yeah, right. Abs, 8 complete routines, 31 exercises to get you ripped. But they forgot to mention genetics. Now, these are all from my personal collection. Most of these are from the late 90s, early 2000s. Around this time, I was working for the sport and health company, which is now known as One Life Fitness. Yeah, nonsense. Guaranteed muscle building tips from the pros. There's no such thing as a guaranteed muscle building tip. Particularly when you factor in genetics, there's just no such thing. This one is from 1990. Didn't realize I still had this one. I was still in high school when I got this. So here's a good one. Take a lesson on building bigger buys from longtime pro Nasser El Sambate. Now, let's forget about the fact that he's obviously pharmaceutically enhanced. Let's just put that in our magazine. Tips from someone who is pharmaceutically enhanced. Makes no sense. There's no wonder there's so much ignorance in the fitness industry. Just generally speaking, the people have adhered to mythology about strength training for decades. In those old bodybuilding magazines, from the 90s, even beyond the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, even to this day, there's a ton of misinformation on the internet about strength training. All right, this guy used anabolic assistance, and he also is genetically gifted. Plain and simple. But let's leave those parts out. And this is another good one. Lee Priest is back, bigger and better. Muscle Tech reveals how Lee Priest got into the most chiseled condition of his life. Yeah, man, it was just all Muscle Tech. Muscle Tech and hard work. No type of anabolic assistance whatsoever. This is what we were fed back in the day. Now, believe it or not, there is some truth to this, and I emphasize the word some truth to it. I mean, for people with fast metabolisms, and perhaps, more ectomorphic frames, uh, waking up to eat does help, a bit. So there's that. But being a hard gainer, is a condition that can't be overcome. I mean, depending on how hard of a gainer you are. For people who are pure ectomorphs, there's just nothing that can be done, about small muscle bellies and unfavorable tendon attachments. If you have a high percentage of slow twitch muscle fibers and a very small, indiscernible muscle belly, you may be able to see a little change, but there's little you can do about it. Now, as for an average hard gainer, someone with some genetic capacity, but maybe a faster metabolism, it does help to eat in the middle of the night, to just wake up and have a snack. So again, there's some truth to that. Look at this old picture of Dexter Jackson. I was always a fan of Dexter Jackson. I still am. It looks like this Cell Tech was a sponsor for this magazine, because there's a lot of Cell Tech all over this particular issue here. Um, you know, it is what it is. I mean, because I don't know if you know, but a lot of bodybuilding magazines from, you know, previous years. Yeah, that's from the time they started until the time they ended. You know, fitness magazines were largely about selling products, about marketing, as you can see here. And once again, here we have more propaganda. You know, yeah, you can't build an incredible back or an incredible anything unless you have a genetic predisposition for it. You know, that's just a fact. You know, but again, bodybuilding magazines would tell us what we wanted to hear instead of what we needed to know. And the fitness industry still does that. You know, even some of the more popular YouTubers, you know, sell dreams. You know, do this to increase your pecs, do this to increase the size of your biceps. You know, but again, 80%, about 30 to 80% of muscular development is genetically predetermined. You know, me, I happen to have far above average genetics. I wouldn't say that I'm a Ronnie Coleman in terms of genetics, but I definitely have great genetics for bodybuilding. You know, and in the gym, you know, skinnier guys would stick to me like white on rice, thinking that I could make them look like me. You know, and as knowledgeable as I am about this, you know, I had a lot of failures, you know, and I knew that I was going to fail, you know, because you can often take a look at a prospective client and tell their genetic capacity. Once you've been doing this long enough, you can look at them, you know, and tell. It's simple, you know, but I tend to tell the truth, you know. I would just rather be honest. You know, you may get a little bigger, but it's not going to be exponential. Protein crystals, the best tasting protein ever. You know, like I said, you know, that was at least 75% of the impetus behind these magazines was selling products. Ads like this always crack me up. You see this before shot, and then you see this after shot here. Now, the truth is, you know, not everyone has rippling abdominals hiding underneath layers of body fat. And that's a fact. You know, some people are just born with small muscle bellies. This guy has large, discernible muscle bellies, and I'm sure it's enhanced, you know, the airbrushing and so forth, but also with anabolic assistance. But there's no guarantee that this is hiding underneath that. There's no guarantee. Some people have really small muscle bellies under here, you know, and you can lose all the body fat that you have, and the end result is just a flat stomach, but no rippling, visibly discernible abs. I mean, I've seen that a bazillion and one times, where underneath all of this is just a flat stomach, you know, but the muscle bellies are so small that they'll never look like this, and that is just genetic. But, you know, the industry doesn't want you to know that, you know. This is why I say people should strength train for health and longevity, and not to impress people. You know, if you have the genetics to become more muscular, then great. You know, but focusing on that can often lead to disappointment and or injuries. You know, because at some point your joints will start to deteriorate. You know, this is why bodybuilders retire. Diet stacks. Nitrous oxide boosters. So yeah, I could pick up any one of these magazines, and I still have a lot of them. And I can just randomly flick through the pages, and the results are pretty much always the same. A lot of misguided information and product placement. You know, and it just reminds me that the fitness industry has not changed a lot. You know, it still tries to sucker you in with this promise, you know, of this beautiful body that's going to make you, you know, more desirable to everyone and so forth. And there's some truth to that, you know, I guess based on your genetics. But there's a lot more to it than that. A lot more to it than that. And like I've said several times, they tell us what we want to hear as opposed to what we need to hear. And if you want to age gracefully and, you know, have a good quality of life well into your 60s, 70s, 80s, and possibly beyond, then you definitely want to think about looking at strength training as a means of attaining health and longevity and not just bigger muscles. Jesus. That's interesting. Yeah. So, Dexter Jackson. Cell Tech. Yeah, this one is particularly bad. This is muscular development, and there's just almost everything in here is product placement. It is an ad. Look at this. I mean, have I seen like even 3 pages that didn't contain some type of supplement? Jeez. Pro testosterone technology. Supplements. Jeez. So anyway, I may do a part 2 to this if anybody watches this. Jeez. Yeah, I may do a part 2 of this because I have a bunch more. So, at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more content about the fitness industry, personal training, and strength training in general. This is PLA Mind and Body Works signing out. Man, I can't stop flicking through this. All right, see you next time.